The airplane cabin hummed with the low vibration of engines as passengers boarded slowly, placing their bags, settling their children, adjusting their seats. It looked like any normal flight, but no one had any idea that before takeoff, something unforgettable was about to happen. You're watching Smile and Scars, where stories uncover the strength hidden behind every scar and every smile. Today's story starts with a young woman named Sarah Norris, the daughter of the legendary Chuck Norris himself. But unlike her father, she didn't walk around with a tough aura. She used a wheelchair because of a recent spinal injury from a skiing accident. She was fragile physically, but no one had more inner strength than she did. The aisle was narrow, and Sarah moved slowly, guiding her wheelchair forward with careful motions. She carried a soft smile, trying not to draw attention. People often stared, not out of cruelty, but out of curiosity. She was used to it. Behind her walked a tall man with a cap pulled low, a beard, and sunglasses. No one could tell it was Chuck Norris himself. He wasn't traveling as a celebrity today. He was traveling as a father, protecting his daughter in the shadows. He let her lead the way, watching every step, or rather, every push of her wheels. As Sarah approached her row, a flight attendant named Carla was trying to pack bags into the overhead compartment. She was already stressed and irritated because the first flight of the morning had been delayed, and she blamed passengers for every small inconvenience. Her voice was sharp, her movements impatient, her attitude boiling just below the surface. Carla turned around abruptly and saw Sarah moving her wheelchair closer, trying to get into her assigned seat. Carla snapped, "You can't block the aisle like this. Move." Sarah blinked, confused. "I'm just trying to reach my seat." "Then hurry up. The other passengers are waiting. Don't make this difficult." Chuck Norris's jaw tightened beneath his beard. He didn't say anything yet, but his eyes were locked on the attendant's every word. Sarah tried to smile it off. "I'm not trying to be slow. Carla cut her off with a wave of her hand. "Do you need me to teach you how to move a wheelchair properly?" A couple of passengers gasped quietly. Sarah's cheeks burned with embarrassment, but she stayed calm. "Please, I just need a moment." Carla muttered loudly, "Some people want extra attention just because they're disabled." Sarah's eyes dropped. That one hurt, deeply. Chuck took a step forward, but Sarah looked back slightly, giving him a tiny nod telling him not to intervene. "Not yet." Sarah tried again to angle her wheelchair into her row, but the tight space made it hard. One wheel nudged a cart slightly by accident. Carla's reaction was instant and explosive. "That's it," she yelled, and before anyone could react, she lifted her foot and kicked the front wheel of Sarah's chair. The impact jolted Sarah's entire body. Her hands flew off the rims, and she winced in pain as the sudden jerk twisted her spine. The chair rolled back slightly. Passengers froze. A couple of people stood up. Someone whispered, "Did she just kick her?" Carla scoffed loudly. "Maybe now you'll learn to stay out of the way." Sarah's breath trembled. She didn't cry. She didn't shout. She didn't attack back. She just closed her eyes and tried to steady her breathing. Chuck Norris looked down slowly, very slowly. His hands curled into fists. His face hardened like carved stone. A storm was building behind his calm expression, but still he didn't speak. Carla crossed her arms, still fuming. "Get up now, I don't have time for this." Sarah looked up, her voice soft but steady. "I can't stand, I told you." Carla rolled her eyes. "Oh please, everyone makes excuses. Stand up or let someone else drag you up." Chuck finally stepped forward. His tone was low, controlled, dangerous enough. Carla turned toward him, annoyed. "Sir, please sit down." This doesn't concern, but the moment her eyes reached his face, the color drained from hers. The sunglasses, the beard, the cap, didn't hide it anymore. His presence alone felt like a shockwave. Her voice cracked. "Wait, are you?" Chuck didn't blink. His silence was louder than any punch. Sarah looked up at him, her eyes pleading, not because she didn't want him to defend her, but because she didn't want anyone hurt. The passengers stared between Carla and Chuck, realizing who the man was. Phones came out. Whispering spread like wildfire. Carla stepped back, her breathing unsteady. I didn't know she was your daughter." Chuck Norris leaned down slightly, locking eyes with her. "That's the problem. You shouldn't need to know someone's name to treat them like a human being." Carla swallowed hard, her face pale, her confidence shattered completely. I didn't mean. You kicked her wheelchair, Chuck said slowly. You hurt her and you embarrassed her, all because you were impatient. Tell me, would you dare do that to someone who could fight back? Carla couldn't answer. She shook her head, stumbling over her words. No, sir, I'm sorry. I didn't know. Sarah touched her father's arm lightly. Dad, it's okay. Chuck looked at her, the anger softening immediately, replaced by concern. Are you hurt? My back stings a little, she admitted gently, but I'm okay. Carla covered her mouth, horrified by what she had done. Passengers glared at her. Some filmed her. Some shook their heads in disgust. Chuck turned to Carla one last time. Apologize, not to me, to her. Carla nodded frantically and knelt beside Sarah, her voice trembling so badly she could barely speak. I'm so sorry. I lost my temper. I shouldn't have touched you. I shouldn't have said any of those things. Please, forgive me. Sarah looked at her, her eyes calm, sad but strong. I forgive you. But you need to treat people kinder, not just me. Everyone. Carla nodded repeatedly, tears in her eyes. But the situation was far from over, because what none of them knew yet was that the plane's captain had just been called. The airline manager had been notified, and a passenger in first class had already sent the video to news outlets. The moment the plane doors closed, the world outside the cabin was about to explode, and Chuck Norris was about to make a choice that would shake the entire flight crew. This was just the beginning. The cabin remained frozen in a heavy silence as Carla stepped back, wiping her eyes, trying not to break down completely. Passengers stared in disbelief. Some whispered, some filmed, others simply watched Chuck Norris like they were witnessing a scene from a movie suddenly become real. But the moment wasn't finished, not even close. A male flight attendant named Jordan hurried down the aisle, alerted by the commotion but unaware of what had happened. His voice carried forced authority. Okay, what's going on here? We need everyone seated. We are preparing for takeoff. Carla quickly whispered, Jordan, please. It's bad. He doesn't know. Jordan raised a hand sharply. Not now. Sir, I'm going to need you to return to your seat. He turned toward Chuck Norris without even seeing who he was. Before Jordan could finish his sentence, a passenger in the back shouted, Do you know who that is? Another whispered loudly, That's Chuck Norris. The real Chuck Norris. A ripple spread through the plane. Jordan's eyes widened. He stepped back instinctively. Oh, he turned slowly toward Carla. Tell me you didn't. Carla's throat tightened. Her eyes dropped to the floor. I did. Passengers murmured, shaking their heads. Some glared at her as if she had committed the ultimate offense. But Jordan looked even worse, because he knew exactly how severe the consequences would be. Chuck studied them both, but his priority remained Sarah. He kneeled beside her wheelchair. How's your back? You sure you're okay? Sarah nodded gently. I'm all right, Dad, just a little shaken. He brushed a strand of hair from her face, his expression softening. You didn't deserve that. She squeezed his hand. I'm fine because you're here. Meanwhile, Jordan pulled Carla aside, whispering harshly, Do you have any idea what you've done? Kicking a disabled passenger. And not just anyone, Chuck Norris's daughter. Carla choked out a sob. I didn't know. I swear I didn't know. Ignorance isn't going to save your job, Jordan muttered. Then the intercom buzzed. Jordan, come to the front. Now Jordan froze. He already knew the captain must have been notified. Carla trembled harder. What did they say? They want us at the front. Both of us. Carla's breath caught. Oh God. But before they could move, the captain himself appeared at the front of the aisle. A tall, stern man named Captain Reeves. He had the posture of a military officer and the expression of someone who didn't tolerate nonsense. Captain Reeves approached Sarah first, kneeling down respectfully. Miss, are you hurt? Sarah smiled politely. I'm okay, it just startled me. Captain Reeves nodded, then looked up at Chuck. Sir, I apologize deeply. What happened here is unacceptable. I assure you, this will be dealt with immediately. Chuck didn't respond with anger. His voice was calm, steady. She doesn't want trouble. She just wants respect. That's all any of us want. Captain Reeves stood, turning toward Carla. Is it true you kicked her wheelchair? Carla looked like she was about to collapse. I'm sorry, sir. I lost my temper. I didn't mean it. Doesn't matter what you meant, Reeves cut sharply. What you did is dangerous, irresponsible, and cruel. Carla broke into tears. I'm so sorry. A woman from row 9 shouted. Sorry doesn't fix everything. A man added, she should be removed from the flight. Voices rose. People demanded justice. The plane was moments away from becoming a riot. Captain Reeves raised a firm hand. Quiet, please. I will handle this. The cabin settled down, though anger still simmered in the air. Reeves looked back at Chuck. Sir, this flight cannot depart until this situation is resolved. If you feel unsafe or uncomfortable, I will personally escort you and your daughter to first class and delay departure if needed. Chuck shook his head softly. My comfort isn't the issue, it's her treatment. Sarah nodded gently in agreement. I don't want her fired, I just want her to learn. Carla sobbed harder hearing that. Even after everything, Sarah wasn't seeking revenge. Reeves sighed. Miss Norris, that is very kind of you, but protocol requires disciplinary action. Carla looked up desperately. Please, please, I need this job. Jordan whispered Carla. She collapsed into a seat, shaking. Chuck stepped forward, his voice level but commanding. Let me speak to her, alone. Captain Reeves hesitated, then nodded. Very well. Everyone, please remain seated. Passengers leaned in, curious, but the captain blocked the aisle to give them privacy. Chuck approached Carla. She couldn't look at him. He spoke quietly. You know what the real problem is? She sniffed. I was stressed. I made a mistake. Everyone makes mistakes, Chuck said softly, but you didn't just snap at her. You attacked her, not with fists. Worse, with humiliation. Carla cried harder. Chuck continued. You saw her wheelchair and thought she was weak, but she's stronger than you think, stronger than most people on this plane. Carla whispered through her tears, I know, I'm sorry. Chuck's voice softened. I'm not here to ruin your life. I'm here to make sure you learn, and if you truly care, you'll fix this. Not because of her name, not because of mine, but because treating people right matters. Carla looked up, eyes red. I want to fix it. I swear I do. Sarah spoke gently from behind him. Then start by treating the next person with kindness, and the person after that, and every person after that. Carla nodded slowly. I will, I promise. Captain Reeves approached again. Sir, Miss Norris, what would you like us to do? Sarah looked at Carla, then at her father. She spoke softly. I don't want her fired. But she should be removed from this flight. She's not in the right state to work safely. Carla wiped her tears, accepting it silently. Reeves nodded, understood. He leaned into his radio. Replace flight attendant Carla with stand, by crew. Escort her off the aircraft. Carla whispered, thank you, for not destroying my career. I'll never forget this. Sarah offered a small smile. Just be better. As Carla was escorted toward the exit, the passengers watched quietly. Some nodded in approval, others whispered, but no one expected what would happen next. Because just as Carla stepped off the plane, 3 uniformed security officers boarded quickly, heading straight toward the aisle. Passengers stiffened. Chuck narrowed his eyes. Jordan whispered, oh no, this just got worse. And before Chuck could prepare himself, the lead officer spoke sharply. Sir, we need to speak with you immediately. Something was wrong, very wrong, and the entire flight was about to spiral into chaos. The 3 security officers stepped down the aisle with a sense of urgency that made every passenger stiffen in their seats. Chuck Norris turned slowly, shielding Sarah instinctively. His protective instincts were ancient, carved from years of discipline, training, and battles. On screen and off, the lead officer spoke firmly. Sir, step aside. We need to speak with you immediately. Sarah's eyes widened. Dad. Passengers whispered anxiously. Is he in trouble? Why security? Someone must have escalated it. Chuck remained calm, but a hard edge settled in his expression. What seems to be the issue? The officer glanced at his tablet, then at Chuck. We received an incident report from the crew. It states you threatened a flight attendant. We need to investigate before takeoff. Gasps erupted across the cabin. Chuck frowned. I threatened no one. Jordan jumped forward. No, that's wrong. Carla was the one who the officer raised a hand. Sir, we'll hear from everyone. but we need to follow protocol." Before anything escalated, Sarah spoke up, her voice steady but emotional. "My dad didn't threaten anyone. I was assaulted. She kicked my wheelchair." Passengers nodded, backing her up immediately. A woman shouted, "I recorded it." "He never touched anyone." Another man added, "Carla was abusing her power." He defended his daughter. The officers exchanged glances. Suddenly, the story was shifting. Fast. The lead officer softened slightly. "Miss Norris, we didn't receive that information." Jordan stepped between them because Carla filed her report first. "She panicked, she lied, and now she's already been removed from the flight." The officer sighed. "This is why we need full information. Sir, we apologize, but we still need a statement from you and your daughter." Chuck nodded. "We'll cooperate, but do not touch her. She's been through enough today." The officers nodded respectfully. Captain Reeves appeared behind them. "I already reviewed the passengers' recordings. Chuck and Sarah did nothing wrong. Carla was the aggressor. She'll face disciplinary action. Let's finish this quickly so the flight can proceed." The officers stepped back, relieved. "Understood, Captain." They began taking statements from nearby passengers first, and every story matched. Carla had overreacted, mistreated Sarah, and physically struck her wheelchair. As the officers reviewed the evidence, they approached Chuck again. "Sir, Miss Norris, we sincerely apologize for the misunderstanding. You're both cleared." The plane released a collective sigh of relief. But Chuck wasn't done. He looked around at the passengers. "Thank you all for speaking up." A man near the aisle nodded. Anyone with eyes could see what really happened. A woman added, "and a heart." Sarah smiled softly. "Thank you, everyone." The lead officer leaned down toward Sarah. "Miss, are you medically okay to fly?" She nodded. "I'm all right. Just need to stay seated and stable." Chuck placed a gentle hand on her shoulder. "She's tougher than she looks." The passengers chuckled lightly. The officers left the plane, and the captain returned to the cockpit. Jordan wiped his forehead, relieved. Jordan turned to Sarah. "I'm really sorry you went through that. We'll do everything to make your flight comfortable." She smiled warmly. "Thank you." Chuck and Sarah settled into their seats. The chaos, the tension, the fear, it all slowly faded. But the story was far from finished. Because only a few rows away, someone was editing the video on their phone, preparing to upload it to social media. The caption read, "Flight attendant kicks Chuck Norris's daughter." His reaction, legendary. As the plane taxied toward the runway, the video was posted. Within 3 minutes, it had already gained 20,000 views. But inside the cabin, peace was returning. Sarah leaned her head back and took a deep breath. "Dad, I'm glad you were here." Chuck smiled gently. "I'll always be here, even when you think you don't need me." She looked at him with tears forming. "I'll always need you." He took her hand softly, "and I'll always protect you." Just then, Jordan returned. "Sir, Miss Norris, the captain would like to offer you both upgraded seating in first class. No extra charge." Sarah blinked. "That's so kind. But I don't want special treatment." Chuck looked at her with pride. "That's because you're my daughter." Jordan smiled. "It's not special treatment. It's an apology." Sarah nodded softly. Then, "Okay, thank you." Jordan helped guide her wheelchair toward the front, and the passengers applauded quietly as she passed. Not because she was Chuck Norris's daughter, but because she'd handled the situation with grace that humbled everyone. As they settled into first class, Sarah whispered, "Dad, I still feel bad for Carla." Chuck nodded. "You forgave her. That's enough. But forgiveness doesn't erase consequences. It teaches." The engines roared gently as the plane lifted off. Clouds surrounded them like soft white armor. For the first time that morning, Sarah relaxed. She reached out, and Chuck placed his hand over hers. "You know something," she said quietly. "What's that?" "You didn't have to roar or fight or shout. And still, you protected me more than anyone else could." Chuck smiled. Strength isn't always loud. As the plane leveled in the sky, the sun reflected through the window, shining across Sarah's face. She looked peaceful again, safe again. The flight carried on smoothly, passengers whispering little stories, some replaying the video, others sending messages to friends. The cabin felt lighter now, like justice had restored balance to the air. Hours later, when the plane landed, the world outside had already changed. A crowd waited at the terminal. Reporters, photographers, news channels. The video had exploded online, crossing over 1 million views before the plane even touched the ground. Sarah gasped, "Oh no, Dad, I didn't want attention." Chuck squeezed her shoulder. "Let me handle it." The doors opened, flashes erupted, microphones extended, questions poured. Chuck Norris stood tall, shielding Sarah from the crowd. He spoke calmly into the noise. "We're not here for fame. We're here to remind everyone. Treat people with kindness. You never know what someone is going through, and strength is protecting, not hurting." Cameras clicked, people cheered, some applauded. Sarah looked up at him with admiration. "You always know what to say." Chuck smiled. "Your smile shows me the right words." And together, father and daughter rolled forward, past the cameras, past the noise, past the chaos, reminding the world that kindness, even when tested, remains the strongest force of all. The story ended not with a fight, but with compassion, growth, and a message the world needed. And that's what turned a painful moment into a moment that would inspire millions.